JV, do you have your paper?
I can email it to you, but I don't have.
Okay. Okay, if you will please email it to me.
Okay.
And I'll just ask the other Garrett to do the same. Okay, thank you guys for this. Did I get everyone else's? Okay. Matt, did you have one?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Will you email it to me tonight? Okay, thank you. So I'm eager to look through these and just see what you guys wrote. I'm assuming it didn't take very long. It shouldn't take very long. But again, the idea was to actually, Jamie, would you shut that door, please? The idea, remember the prompt or the thesis of it was envision what ideal ministry would look like for you from here on the rest of the semester. What would you do? Who are the people you'd spend time with? And the purpose of it, again, was just to get you visualizing yourself being a leader. And I think for some of you, that might just be a big need. Some of you see yourselves as very influential and as leaders, but I would bet money that all of you probably don't see yourself as influential as you really are. And so the goal of this is just to help you start visualizing it. And maybe that would be a step in you exercising more of your influence with the really short amount of time we have left in this semester. Any insights from writing this that you'd like to share with the group before we move on?
I thought that I had kind of built more of a foundation to talk to some of these people that are in my classes.
Okay.
And when I was going back over and looking at it, I was like, yep, it's been about 2 conversations a piece for each one of these, and they weren't very productive.
So not as much as you kind of thought you had done?
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Because now what can you do?
Fix that.
Yeah. Go back and have some more significant conversations with them. Yeah. Yeah. That should not be a depressing thing. That should be a helpful thing.
No, it was good to know.
Yeah. Any other insights? And again, I don't know what you guys wrote yet, but anything you guys want to share with each other that you got from this?
I think what's been going around in my head all week is I've done nothing, I haven't done anything good,
Okay.
And then, I met with the girl that I preached the gospel to, and she gave her life to Christ this afternoon. And I was talking to her, and we were talking about the 1 John 5:11-12 verse. And I was like, how do you know that this is true? And she looked at me, and she said, because God's word says it, and that makes it true. Because God said so, and that makes it true.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, because the Bible said it, therefore it's true. And it's like, okay, we're 10 steps further than I thought we were going to be. Okay. Because I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, the way I felt when I started out was, you would go from ground zero of the Bible is inerrant. And I thought I was going to have to build that. But no.
She's already accepted that.
She's already there. And I'm like, oh.
That's good.
This is okay.
So you can move on
Yeah.
to bigger things.
And we talked about things today, we talked about information, and it was just like, oh. So it hasn't been useless that I've been praying. It has done something amazing.
Yeah. Speaking of prayer, right, we talked about this last week. Did any of you do the kind of default prayer challenge thing, where you try to implement something that would remind you to default back to that? Anyone try that?
I didn't do a thing, but I did
Okay, you thought about it a little bit?
Yeah, I did.
No one like wrote a little star in their hand or anything?
Some other reminders here. It's a really good spot for reminders.
Hey, I got a reminder in my hand right now, man. Okay, well, you should do it for prayer. I would encourage you to do it. It changed my life. I remember when Casey told me about this, I was like, this is dumb. But I did it, and it changed my life. Because I'd see it, and it made me think of it. And just after time, it was on my mind more. So I would encourage you guys to try it, please. It's to be able to walk through your day and go back to just a continual conversation with God. Whether there's some really rough stuff going on in your life, you go back to God and bring those things back to Him and keep them before Him. Or things are going really well in your life. I encourage you to do that. Okay. Pink book. Let's do this. This was the last chapter in this book, and it was, I believe, the longest one to date. So, I know, it was long, but perhaps, especially this time in the semester, maybe this is, the most timely. I think the content of this chapter is some of the most relevant stuff for college students today. Dealing with priorities and how that affects my use of time and how that affects anxiety in my life. Like, is there a bigger issue in college students' lives than anxiety and time management and priorities? No. Those are in the top 10, okay, of things that you guys struggle with and wrestle with trying to get those how they need to be in your life. And you're overwhelmed and anxiety's through the roof every day. At least you feel that way. So this is good stuff, okay? So I hope you are ready and expectant to kind of discuss this and gain some more insights from this. So I know this was the longest one. Were you able to finish it? Were you able to go through it all? Or no? How'd you guys do? I'm getting a bunch of no's.
I got halfway? More than halfway?
Okay.
I got mixed up again and did the first chapter of the 6th book.
So have you done this one?
Yeah.
So you just skipped it.
I thought we were finished with this book, but
Well, Sam, I don't know how that happened, but yes, you got mixed up.
All these tools in the back are super helpful. I thought.
Yes.
I like those, even if I didn't do all the self-reflection, because there's a lot of self-reflection in here.
Yes.
All the self-reflection, all of it.
Okay.
It's like, wow.
You guys,
it was hard.
I want to, it's not like, in your classes you take, if you don't do the work, you get flunked and then your GPA goes down and, so you pay the consequences. Well, I don't really have consequences for you guys other than just friend to friend. I want to say that this will help you. This will help you. So,
For those of us that
Yeah.
aren't managing our time well, we probably didn't get to the part about time management.
yeah, ironically, maybe there's some stuff in here that would help you. Because I know what you're thinking. You're like, Brent, you don't understand. I've been busy. I had tests. I got family stuff. I'm not sleeping well. I know. Ironically, there might be some stuff in here that would help you about priorities and anxiety and managing your time. So, this weekend, I know there's a football game. I'm going to watch the game too. You can watch the game. But you'll have some time. Go back and finish this chapter and spend some time looking at these tools in the back that will help you maybe kind of get a grip on some things. it's just really practical stuff. That's like the last half is really practical, and the first half is like really challenging things. I thought they were. I was like, oh my gosh, my life.
You have this little clock guy right here.
Oh, well, we're gonna talk about that. We're going there. Time's running out. Yeah. That was like, I paused for a little bit when I was reading that.
How many of us had to go back over that stupid clock and do it like 4 times to be able to get the count right?
Yeah, I was like, okay, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30. Yeah. Okay, well, we're going to talk about that. Okay, but hey, do you guys get me? Like, this will help you. And so I'm not mad, but help me, help you, help yourself. Okay?
You're exhorting
I think
us.
you obviously need some of this stuff. Yes, I'm trying to exhort you in love. Okay. I got a quote for you guys. I don't even know who this came from, but I think about it a lot. I want to know what you think about this. No one has time management problems. What we have are priority problems. What does that mean? What do you think about that? People don't have time management problems. People have priority problems.
I've heard that
You
before.
make time for what's your priority.
Okay.
Where did I hear that?
Whether or not you're doing that consciously.
I bet money on Max. I mean,
Maybe Max.
you know.
Yeah, okay, so Steph, that was a good insight. Like, maybe you don't even realize it, but yeah, the things you spend your time on are the things that are priorities to you.
I don't think that's always true.
Okay.
I think like
Tell me. Argue a little bit.
okay, like watching a movie. Well, you know what? Maybe I'm gonna like stay up late last night doing my lab report all night because I watched Netflix and I did bad time management. It's not that Netflix was a higher priority than my lab because I wouldn't stay up all night watching Netflix if I happened to do my lab when I was supposed to. You know what I'm saying?
Wait. I'm getting confused. Take me back.
Okay. Here we are. This is real life. This has really happened, guys.
Yeah, Jay, I know this is real life.
Like watch some Netflix. Too much Netflix.
Okay.
And so I had to stay up all night doing my lab report because school was a higher priority than Netflix.
Wait, you did stay up watching Netflix?
No, do you regret
I-
giving up sleep?
Yes.
Then you have misplaced priorities.
But
You said
it's
you
not
wouldn't
that
stay up for
I'm
that.
still confused.
I spent
Did
more-
you or did you not stay up watching
Sometimes
Netflix?
Okay.
Earlier than you could've gone
I
to sleep.
stayed up during the daytime
Still
when I
not
should have been
true.
working on my lab report.
Okay, so like all afternoon you watch Netflix.
I was doing other stuff.
Okay. Yeah,
But for
but
time,
what you didn't do was your homework.
when I should have been doing homework,
Okay,
I procrastinated
okay,
and I goofed around,
okay.
and so I had to stay up all night watching Netflix or
Doing
I had to do my
homework.
lab.
Okay.
You did
Right?
your lab in either scenario. Having done Netflix first, what you sacrificed was sleep. Therefore, since the lab has the same priority, what you really lacked was priority of sleep over Netflix.
That's probably true.
I think that's a great.
But
Daughter of an attorney.
all I'm saying is like
That's my girl.
when we get in a jam, it's not always because I prioritized that wrong. I just don't think that. I think sometimes we just like to do something easy and relax.
Yeah, of course.
And
Is that
Here might be a good
maybe that's our priority.
A
My
good example
Netflix
would
is
be
people.
like you come here, you don't have the essay written. The reason why you didn't write your essay to say you have no time because you had a lot of classes and tests. But previously throughout the week, you had spent time watching Netflix for a couple hours. Well, if you'd only watched Netflix 1 hour, you could have spent one of those hours or 30 minutes writing the essay. So then you did have time to write. So your excuse is I didn't have any time, but really you're making time for Netflix. You weren't making time for the essay.
Yeah.
That's misplaced priorities, and that's the point of that's the point of the
And
quote.
I'm gonna raise my hand on this one. Like when it comes to time management, I'm not gonna lie. Yesterday, I didn't feel like I got enough done. But did I sit and watch Parks and Recreation? Yeah, I did. But I also cleaned my bathroom and got 2 loads of laundry done while I was doing it. So I didn't feel like I was doing a whole lot, and I had a really quiet afternoon. But I got some things done. I had gotten my grocery shopping done in the morning because I had gotten up at 6:30.
See, that's misplaced priorities. Sleep goes over.
Oh, I got enough sleep that
Hey,
night.
now of course.
There's some condemnation to that? Man.
this is the great time for us all to defend ourselves because we all want to think we manage our time well.
But what I'm trying to say is, like, I think that sometimes, I think I see what Garrett is saying. Like, at least for me,
I don't see what you're
I
saying.
need to schedule time where I do nothing. I need to schedule time
Okay.
to do nothing.
Now, here's a word about this. Yes, of course, we need time to rest. In fact, God even gave a command to his people that you need to rest. So it's even a biblical priority to rest. I think a common way that we skew this idea is, and I see this every day. You'll work on homework for an hour and be like, I need a break. And then the next 2 hours, you just blow that time away. And so what really needs to happen is we need to stop justifying that, and we need to build some endurance and be harder workers. And then when it's time to rest. But we like to really justify me time. So I would kind of push back on that and challenge that a little bit. I do see what you're saying.
I'm not saying it's right.
Well, so yeah, I think with your example, I think Katie has some good insights. You sacrificed something, and it was sleep. And whether or not that was a big deal to you, that's subjective. Maybe it doesn't matter to you. And so it's not a big sacrifice. But, you do that for too long and it'll start to affect you. If you got more sleep and felt more rested, that would have healthy consequences for other things in your life. So I can see how that still is not an ideal picture.
Well, yeah, I know that. But it's just like my time management was bad, and then all of a sudden I was like, man, I didn't manage my time well enough, so I don't have enough time to do this lab unless I stay up all night. But if I would manage my time better, done it in the day, I wouldn't have stayed up watching Netflix. I'd have gone to sleep.
Right. Yeah.
So that puts...
The priorities weren't skewed. Time management was just horrible.
Yeah.
Basically.
But it is true that what you give your time to is really what you value. So in that time, you're like, I have all these options of what I could do. I could do my homework. I could not. I'll do my homework later if I don't do it now. What you're wrestling with in that moment is, what do I really want? What do I really want? And that's what I'm going to do. And it's true. Kels tells me this all the time, and I think about it a lot. Like, we all do exactly what we want to do. Exactly what we want to do. No one's putting a gun to our head, making us do anything. The choices we make every day, it is what we want to do. And so, at some level, our choices do reveal our values, our priorities. And maybe it's not maybe it's not really significant, like, no, I take that back. It's always significant.
Can I say that another way and see if that clicks for some people?
Yes.
We like to think that we manage our time according to our priorities, but maybe, like, we think in our head, this is how I'm going to manage it according to my priorities, and my priorities are separate from my time, but regardless of what you think your priorities are, your time management will reveal the truth
Yes.
of what is really important. I think that was the point of the quote. Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you saying it? Okay.
Yeah, I've heard someone say that if you really want to see, and we're going to get to this in a second. Well, maybe, yeah, we'll come back to this, but I'm glad you hit on this. If you really want to see what a person values and what they love, just look at their bank statement, things that they're spending money on, and then look at their calendar. If they had a calendar that had everything listed that they did. And that would tell you exactly what they value. Because all of us, again, we do exactly what we want to do. Even though there are hard choices, no one's making you do anything. Let's move on, okay? Because this should get some tension going, because we all have things we want to do. We don't like people telling us that we need to do things differently, and we all love our me time, and we need time to rest. So how do I How do I think through this? Okay. What I want to look at, go to page 49. And yeah, let's look at this clock real quick, which is on the adjacent page. If I did my math right, which maybe I did not, it's 4:30 in my life. And I have 8 hours left before I'm dead.
Oh, that's what the clock analogy is. That's beautiful.
Is it 3:20 or 3:20?
Probably.
That's what I got. Yeah, because it was 3:40.
Sam, it's like you're in high school and school just got out and all you have left is like the evening before you go to bed.
Did you take a nap?
What?
Yeah, how long so does that live?
It means you got even less time.
You're gonna die and then come back.
Like, our
Will you take a nap until midnight?
Did you know
I
what
used to take
time?
a nap until like 6 or 7 in high school.
Well,
How old are you?
you need to think about this then. Maybe you don't want to take a nap
That's fine.
for the rest of your life.
72 years.
Don't sleep.
Naps are good though.
Yeah, this was like
Naps are a high priority.
my thought was like
Me too.
my life is getting close to halfway over. Yeah.
We caught that face on camera.
Okay, now let's look at page 49. Great verse. So we're going to talk about priorities a little bit here. And then we can kind of touch on some of these practical tools in the back about how does this affect our time management. Matthew 6:33, right? Amazing verse. Mm-hmm.
First the kingdom of God.
So, what's this talking about? What do you think is meant by his kingdom? We'll just look at these questions that are on this page. See what you guys put down. What do you think is meant by seek first his kingdom? Why does Jesus say that?
Every decision you make, base it around putting his kingdom first. So like,
Okay. What does that mean? How do you...
a real easy example would be, you should just, in the future, like, for example, who you marry, don't marry a girl that will help you seek first the kingdom of God. So you're marrying a girl that's gonna not necessarily someone you're just attracted to or is you have these conversations with, but someone who will, like, push you towards purity, push you towards pursuit of God's will and obedience to God. And that
Yeah.
way, so you're seeking first the kingdom of God, but in the way you marry someone.
That's good. So in a really practical sense, that really influences big decisions, like who you're going to marry.
Mm-hmm.
What else? Are there little decisions that affects? So that's really clear how, a big decision like that, if I'm seeking God's kingdom first, that's going to influence who I date, who I marry.
For me, day to day, it's my speech. A lot of times in
Great
my
example.
life, like it's standing at work and it's a customer who comes in and is really nasty and is really rude. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, what is your problem? And I'm censoring most of this. What is your problem? What gives you the right to walk in and treat me like I'm less than human? What right do you have to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Every day I have to choose to not just be, like, honestly, I can choose to not say those things easily. What's harder for me to do is not be passive aggressive. And not to be like, thanks, have a great day. And not be like super angry. It's really hard. It's hard. I'm not gonna lie. I struggle with it all the time.
Yeah. So if you're seeking God's kingdom, then that influences what you say, how you treat people,
Like, and in that situation.
changes your priorities.
Yeah, and in that situation.
Yeah.
I have to genuinely choose to love them and be kind.
Other thoughts on this? What is meant by seeking first His kingdom?
Well, I'm gonna go back to the same thing that we've been talking about. Obviously, it's how you spend your time.
Okay.
I know that's something that I've struggled with for forever. Is how I manage my time. Like, if I'm gonna seek His kingdom, then I'm going to be Christ's example everywhere that I go. But giving 110% at work and at home and all those places, and I just feel like there's not really enough time for all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So how do you prioritize everything? Just always kind of my last question.
Yeah. Let's bring this back home, this class, expanding lordship. Fit this into the analogies that we've talked about at the beginning of the semester, that your life is a house with all these different rooms. And if I let Jesus be the Lord of what I do with school, and if Jesus is Lord over what I do with my friends, and what I do with my free time, and what I do or don't do on Netflix, right? All these different areas, these pieces of our life, these rooms of our house that take up time, letting Jesus be Lord of those things, and they start to fall in their proper place because He is Lord of it. Maybe a way to kind of think of it is this, like this. Jesus tells us, seek His kingdom first, as opposed to your kingdom first. Because you have a little Matt kingdom. There's a little Garrett kingdom that probably for many years of your life you've built up and tried to secure the walls, right? And when Jesus comes into your life, He says, time to demo this baby. We're tearing it down, and now it's my kingdom, right? We're blowing up the Garrett kingdom. And some of us are still holding on to our kingdom, our way of doing things, our priorities, how we want to call the shots. That would be the Sam kingdom. So He's saying, seek His kingdom first.
He does it gently most of the time.
Sometimes
Sometimes
it
it's
is,
sledgehammer.
sometimes it's not.
But
It's not.
It's a bulldozer.
In the most loving way possible, sometimes He does blow it up.
okay, I'm sorry. I'm a mercy. I try to make things nice and warm.
But He is merciful. He is merciful.
The fact that He's even doing that shows He's being merciful. Even if like
It's true. He loves us so much, He will blow up your kingdom.
yeah, that shows some love.
Yeah.
I think it's hard for me to look at things sometimes and see the eternal perspective.
Of course. Yeah.
So
We have to trust Him.
Yeah, I have to remind
Yeah.
myself. Big picture. Big picture.
Let's go back to Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord.
Don't
Don't lean on your own understanding. We can't see the bigger picture. So that's helpful for me, His kingdom and not Brent's kingdom, or He is Lord. In a kingdom, if it's the kingdom of Jesus, that means He's the ruler, and it's His rules, and what happens in His kingdom is according to what He wants, right? Like everything revolves around who the king is of that kingdom. And that king establishes everything about that kingdom. And so, really, seeking first His kingdom is about a person, Jesus. It's about doing things His way and not our way anymore. Letting Him be Lord over all the rooms in my house. Right? What about the next phrase? It says, seek first His kingdom and His righteousness. What does that mean? Is that the same thing? Is that different? What do you think about that?
I don't know. His righteousness, think about what Isaiah said, like what our righteousness is like, it's like filthy rags. And so, imagine if you seek after, like, your own righteousness. And so, I don't know. I look at myself, and I see, like, whether it be, like, all the good things that I can do, or whether it be, the good works, all the accomplishments that I can make, and just knowing that, like, it could never possibly ever be enough, and that in God's eyes, it's a literal, like, filthy rag.
Right.
I don't know, I guess it kind of means, like, losing all hope, like, in yourself, I guess, kind of letting go. I don't know how to word it. I don't know if I'm making sense or not.
Can I try to help out?
Dig in, go for it.
My pastor has made comments. Love Josh Wagner. He can be a bit of a I don't even know. He's incredible with what he is.
He is.
He's made some comments about how modern psychology talks about building the self-esteem, and he's made comments about how he really doesn't care about someone's self-esteem. What he builds is identity in Christ.
Mm-hmm.
My pastor doesn't care about what I think about myself. That does not matter. Because my identity does not need to be rooted in Shelby Guskin.
Mm-hmm.
Because Shelby Guskin is a child of the King, is a child of the one true God,
Mm-hmm.
is the child of El Elyon, the Most High God. The Most High. That is where her identity is. That is where Matt's identity is. That's where Katie's identity is in that truth.
Mm-hmm.
And who Christ is now who I am. Because of what Christ did, God sees me through Christ-colored glasses.
Yeah, I think you both are onto
Tag team, baby.
onto something. I'm going to read a passage. This is a very well-known passage from Philippians 3. Maybe I think this gives us a little bit of insight into this. Okay. So, yeah, Jesus says, seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. All these things that you worry about and are anxious about. Okay, Philippians 3, 7 through 11. Paul says, whatever gain I had from all these good things in my life, whatever gain I had, I counted as loss for the sake of Christ. Indeed, I count everything as loss. Okay, see, I think you can see in this passage, Paul is talking about this idea of seeking first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. It says, indeed, I count everything as loss because of the surpassing worth of knowing Christ Jesus my Lord. For his sake, I have suffered the loss of all things and count them as rubbish in order that I may gain Christ and be found in him, not having a righteousness of my own that comes from the law, but righteousness that comes through faith in Christ, the righteousness from God that depends on faith, that I may know him and the power of his resurrection and may share his sufferings, becoming like him in his death, that by any means possible I may attain the resurrection from the dead. What are some insights from that might help us understand what Jesus is talking about?
Can I note what he says before that?
Yeah. I mean, talking about what I was mentioning earlier, like all these, his resume, his Jewish resume.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all these really good things in his life that would seem to merit him before God. Yeah, he's saying,
Worse than trash.
yeah, I throw those things away because I want to gain Christ, and I don't want a righteousness of my own. I want actual righteousness that comes from God. Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's not just I want God's righteousness. Like it's not just that. It's I don't want the glory because I love my Lord so much. If I can be a piece of letting Him shine, that's a joy.
Yeah, and I think it's it's a realization that I think like what Matt was saying. It's not about my righteousness. It's not my kingdom. It's not about me. It's about Him and His kingdom, and this is just going back to the gospel of what God offers to us, righteousness to be in a right relationship with Him and to even be in His kingdom. So that's something to think about. That was just a passage that I was thinking of that might give some insights into what Jesus is saying. I did a little bit of word study on Matthew 6:33. I want to share some insights for you. Insights from this for you. Okay, think about this. Seek first His kingdom. Jesus does not say seek for the kingdom, which is perhaps what Jesus would have said if He was addressing this command to unbelievers. He didn't say that. He says seek the kingdom. To seek for it, to get into it, was not what He was saying. He's speaking to those who are already kingdom citizens, telling them to make the interest of God's kingdom their priority. So, kingdom citizens, and we are citizens because we have Christ's righteousness, not our own. You can never get in on your own righteousness because it doesn't impress God. Kingdom citizens should ponder, is what I'm going to say or do, or this decision I'm going to make, is it going to advance God's kingdom and His glory? That's a great, man, if that question could be on the back of our mind or in the front of our mind as we go throughout our day, is this going to advance God's kingdom and His glory or not? That's a good kind of matrix to work through when you're trying to figure out, am I living with biblical priorities or not? And that'll probably, I know for me, that changes everything, right? That would change everything. Does that mean I never take a nap? No. Does that mean I never watch TV? Maybe, but maybe not. You could argue that it would. So, we don't need to get into this thought where like I turn into this spiritual Green Beret and I'm just going crazy 90 miles an hour, for the glory of God. Okay, He doesn't need you, but He's calling you to live a life that is actually going to be worth something and isn't going to leave you empty when you're 80 years old and you're about to die. And you look back on your life and you're like, wow, I wasted so much time. The clock hands hit 12. He's calling us to a full life. We're wasting time right now. Let's get out of here. I'm just kidding. Can't pick this back up. But maybe we are, We sit around and talk a lot. We need to get out here and do some stuff. All right, some more insights from this. In the original language, seek, what Jesus says, I guess in the Aramaic, zeteo, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Would you like me to look at it?
Zeteo.
Did you find it in Aramaic by chance?
No, I don't have like an Aramaic Bible.
That seems legit though.
This was a commentary from someone much smarter than I am.
Your pronunciation is pretty good.
Well, thank you. I've taken several years of Aramaic myself.
Have you really?
No. No. So whatever that word is in the original language, seek, means to try to learn where something is or try to find by searching for what is lost. So it's like you are like in a treasure hunt. You're seeking for it. You're really going after it. Another way it's defined is to attempt to learn something by careful investigation or searching. So, in this context, it's speaking of having a single-minded focus. Like you've got to find this thing. So this is about priorities, what you really seek after, right? And again, like we mentioned earlier, whether it's who you marry or what you do with your free time or how you speak to people, thinking through this framework, it will change the decisions we make. Oh man, next semester when you guys are with Alex with biblical decision making, I'm just going to quit this class and go over there with you guys. It's so good. He was sharing with the staff a few days ago just a few brief things about what they're talking about. I was like, this is awesome. So this is like unpacked big time in his class. Okay. Another thought about this word. All right, zeteo or whatever. And it's in the present imperative. That's the form it's in. So what Jesus is saying is that the antidote to worrying, because remember the context that he says this in. He's talking about having anxiety and worrying about things. The antidote to worrying about things is to make a daily choice to prioritize God's kingdom and his righteousness. So you make it a habit of your life to prioritize seeking God's way. The world won't stop tempting you to seek its passing pleasures, but one of the best defenses is a good offense, right? And so in this case, it's seeking the things above where the king is.
It's a call to action.
Yeah.
It is an imperative. It is a call to action. Grammatically, it's a fascinating choice. God
Jesus,
opens the door.
he's
Oh my
a
God.
master teacher.
I'm just sitting here and I'm geeking out about the grammar.
Okay, on page 49, question 5. Now here we'll come back to something that Steph mentioned earlier.
I wrote good question by that question.
Ooh, okay. It is a good question, isn't it? What is one sure way of determining where your heart is? Any thoughts on that?
Where you're investing your money.
Yeah.
Whether you're storing up everything for yourself or if you're just trusting God to provide it.
Okay. Are you hoarding because you're worried? Or are you trusting God? Okay.
Treasure in heaven, though, isn't physical treasure.
No.
My follow-up question to that was, what is your treasure in heaven? What does it look like on
That's-
earth to put treasure in heaven?
Ooh.
Just as a
Any ideas? That is a great question.
We're getting deep, you guys.
What does it mean to store up treasures in heaven?
Blessings. I call it blessings. So some people receive more bountiful blessings than other people who go to heaven who wasted more time on earth, I guess.
Yeah.
I think it's referring to blessings. More
Yes.
than-
Yeah. But what, I mean, again, that's sort of a vague thing. Like, what is it?
And I have a question. Does that mean that me becoming a believer at 19 and Lord willing, my mother coming to become a believer at her age, does that mean that I'm better than she is because I stored up more in heaven? No. And that's where I take issue. I think I take issue with that concept.
It's not
It's
really
like-
a concept, though.
But I guess
I mean, the idea of having treasure in heaven?
no, I have the idea of like saying the blessings and like someone having
Being
more
able
than
to earn
others.
it. Yeah.
It's God. You reap what you sow, and God rewards those. It's fully biblical. Like you reap what you sow.
It is.
And you're gonna what you do on this earth, how you spend your time after you're saved. It's like you're reaping what you're sowing during that time, and so I forgot the verse I memorized during the summer, but it was talking about like it's just essentially that same concept, but. I mean, it's not like your mother. It's not like if someone's 88, they come saved and they die, then they go to heaven. It's like, but here analogy was like it's like it could be like a sense of. I don't think it's gonna be like remorseful like when you get there.
No.
Like I think it's still good, but there's like all these blessings that God was waiting to bestow on you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. I've heard, this is a very widely discussed issue because, frankly, a lot of Christians are very uncomfortable with this. Like, well, I thought it was all grace. What is this earning treasure in heaven based off what I do? I thought salvation was not all about what I can't do, but it's in the Bible. He literally says we should leap for joy, rejoicing because of the treasure that we'll get in heaven. Like, it should be a big deal to us. So,
it's one of the motivators.
yeah, it's a good biblical motivator to really walk with God because there is reward in heaven. Because you became a believer earlier, does that mean you'll have more? I would say it probably depends more on your faithfulness. Your faithfulness after you became a believer. You could become a believer when you were 5 years old and really kind of squandered the possibilities by being lukewarm for a lot of your life. And then someone who's 80 years old lives the last month of their life really faithful to the Lord. God judges by the heart, not by how we judge things. So, those are some thoughts about that. Maybe you guys could, that's obviously, this is kind of for a different evening. But, treasures in heaven. That might be something you guys want to dig into a little bit more. So, question 5. Yeah, we talked about this earlier, but I think definitely what you spend your resources on. And the resources you have are things like your time, your money, your talents, your gifts. Some of you have been dealt a quote-unquote better hand of cards than other people in life. Some of us in the world are set up with resources that others are not, whatever those might be. We're dealt a set of cards and we can't. It was the hand we were dealt when we were born, right? Well, that's not really the issue. The issue is, what do you do with what's been given to you? Are you faithful with it, like we were talking about with Shelby? Whatever your resources are you faithful with it? Are you seeking God's kingdom first above your own? The agenda of His kingdom above your agenda? And that is what's really going to reveal where your heart is and what your priorities are, right? Okay, in the back of this are some very helpful kind of practical, what's the word I'm looking for? Practical, yeah. I feel like I don't know what the word is. There's some helpful stuff, okay? Some good tools. I want to share an illustration with you, and then we're going to check our verses and be done. Okay, help you figure out what to do with your crazy schedules. And a lot of you have probably heard this already, but here you go, refresher course. Imagine your life is a bucket, okay? And right here beside your bucket, you have large stones, you have medium-sized rocks, and then you have like a pile of sand, which are very tiny grains, right? And the size of these 3 different kinds of rock represent the importance of what these different things are. So the big rocks represent very important things in your life or in your day. The medium-sized rocks represent moderately important things. And the little grains of sand are not that important. But they're still there. Okay, maybe this would be, you could fill it in with whatever it is. They're not important. But they're there. They're not evil, whatever. They're things that could happen in your day. So imagine this with me. And this really happens. So you got your bucket. If I pour in the sand first, let's say it fills it up a third of the way. Okay, each of these take up like a third of the space, maybe. Well, no, forget that statement. That's not true. Fill it up with sand, okay? And then I put in, man, I almost need to just draw this for you. I'm going to draw this for you. Did you see it?
Yeah.
Did you all see this? Or was it just Steph? All right. It's so good. See, I'm trying to, do what Alex does, but he does it way better. Here we go. I'm gonna draw this bucket for you, and you're gonna see this. All right, here's your bucket.
Oh, you can draw. Look at you.
So you fill it up with sand. All right. That's the first thing you put into your bucket. Well, okay. When the bucket's full, your day is over. All right, that's how this works. So you've just filled up, almost half your bucket with worthless stuff. And then you go in there with like the medium-sized rocks. Okay? And that takes up more space. But, you still got these big rocks that are also extremely important, right? Maybe it's something that's due the next day. Maybe it's something really important like time spent with God during the day, getting in His Word, a quiet time, something that has a lot of significance for your day. But you don't have a lot of time left in the day, and you try and put these big rocks in here, but they stick up over, and there's another one, there's 3 of them, that one doesn't even fit in there. So it doesn't get done. And you've experienced many days like this where you're like, wow, I wasted so much on unimportant things, and the really important things I didn't even get to. And now it's going to throw everything off, and my anxiety goes through the roof, and people are going to be mad at me, and I'm mad at myself. Big mess, right? Story of your life, right? Okay. Now, let me flip this. I'm going to try and do this exactly the same, so you're not like, hey, you cheated. I'm doing it like, try and make the exact same bucket. Let's say you chose,
So good.
okay, same size, those big 3, those rocks, right? Let's put those in here. Oh, they're going to take up a lot of space, right? All right. You do those first because you're like, you know what? These are important. I need to tackle the things that really matter first. And then I'm going to do the other ones. Oh, and look at this. There's all this space that gets filled in down here with all these medium-sized rocks. Oh, and it's okay. You know what? Maybe it even takes up the whole bucket. And then all you have the sand left, and so you fill up sand right here. But there's not enough space to do all the sand, but it doesn't matter because that stuff's not important anyway. So you're like, no big deal. So what if I've got to go to bed and I can't stay up and watch 5 more hours of Netflix? It's not important, so I'm just going to cut it out. But the good thing is I tackle the things I need and the moderately significant things I need. Now, I know your day doesn't really function like a bucket does, but this illustrates something that is very true, that if we can realize what are the things that are really important, and those things, not always, but usually those things are also the things that are harder to do and take up a little bit more time. And so, because we are lazy, we just neglect them and like, I'll do them later. But it's actually going to cause you pain and anxiety in the long run. And so we can either
More stones than fit in the bucket at some point.
yeah, eventually something's got to give. And like we said before, change happens when the pain of staying like you are is greater than the pain of changing. So you live like this for as long as you can until it hurts too much. And then you start to do things like you need to. So kind of pair this with what we've talked about, realizing, okay, I need to value God's ways above my ways. And that's going to change how I make decisions. And change my priorities. And so now I can think about this a little bit and choose the things that really matter. And if I never get around to the things that don't matter, no big deal, right? And all of a sudden, your life is filled with peace because your days are spent on things that are really important. And you're not just going from one anxiety attack to another, right? So this should be encouraging to you. Okay, let's check each other on our verse, and then we'll get out of here. Okay, I think today we need to be on Psalm 32:5. Is that what you guys were thinking?
Yeah.
Or were some of you memorizing Ephesians 4:32?
Ephesians 4:32.
Okay. It's okay. I know there was some confusion. It's okay. Catch up
I got you.
to Psalm 32:5. And next week we will do 1 John 1:3. Okay. So we'll just, whoever you go with, just check on that one. Okay. Assignments for next week. Just read the first, do the first chapter of book 6, which is about helping others to know Christ. Okay. All right. Let's check our verses, and then when you're done, we'll be dismissed. Okay. Go.